Hello and welcome to Tech Deals, part 4 of the $500 Pentium G4560 computer build video series. This video is Windows installation, setup, and configuration. Now, if you have not seen the rest of the videos, I highly recommend you check the link in the video description below for parts 1 through 3. Parts overview, the why vlog, why I'm building this, why I chose the parts I chose as part 2, and then part 3 is the actual build video, detailed step-by-step build putting all these parts together. In this video, I'm going to show the process of actually setting Windows 10 up from scratch for the first time on this machine, running Windows Update, installing drivers, including the AMD video graphics drivers, making sure that everything is configured and working, making sure that our antivirus is up to date. Now, if you have installed Windows recently, if this is something you know how to do, this video might not be for you. That is okay. I have many other videos to go watch. Go check the links in my video description below, as well as to the right of this video. You should see at least a few of mine. But if you don't install Windows very often, if you've never installed Windows before and you'd like to see how to do it, this video is for you. First things first, you will need a Windows 10 USB thumb drive. Now there will be a link in the video description below to another video I've done on how to make one of these. Now making a Windows 10 install drive does not cost anything. You simply need a 4 GB or larger USB thumb drive. You will create this directly from Microsoft's website. Please note that a free Windows 10 installation drive does not come activated. You actually do need a license key. Also linked in the video description below will be a link on how to get a Windows 10 license key for $30 or less, a legal license key that you can activate over the internet with Microsoft. So go check those two videos out in the description below if you need help with either one of those. This video assumes that you've got your Windows license key and that you've already made a Windows 10 USB installation drive. The first time you boot your computer, you're going to want to insert the USB drive into the machine. When you turn it on, this is the very first screen that will come up once the initial loading screen comes up. Essentially, you have to choose your language, choose your time and currency, and then your keyboard. I'm simply going to click Next. The very next item is Install Now. Now, if you need to repair your machine, if you already have Windows, there is a Repair Your Computer button. You can keep this USB thumb drive to reinstall or fix your installation in the future should you need it, but for now, we'll click Install Now. If you have never installed Windows 10 on this computer before, this screen will come up. Activate Windows. Now this is where you type your product key in. Now if you don't have one handy or you plan to buy one later, you can click this button right here, I don't have a product key. Windows will not be activated. Customization and some other features will be turned off. However, it will install and run. After 30 days, it's going to start nagging you, but it does in fact still work. Please note, if you have already installed Windows at some time in the past on this specific computer, or more appropriately, this specific motherboard, you may not get this screen. Microsoft uses something called the digital license, which keeps track of the fact that Windows has previously been installed on a machine and does not require you to re-enter your product key unless you change major parts of your computer, such as the motherboard. For now, I'm going to click I don't have a product key, I'll enter it later. Now, if you enter a product key, this will not come up, and the reason is the product key tells Windows which version of Windows you have. However, if you click I don't have one, or you're going to enter it later, you have to choose. You're generally going to choose only one of the two top items, either Pro or Home. Now, I'm going to choose Pro because all of my keys are Pro, even the $30 ones. So I'm going to choose Pro and hit Next. Be sure to check out that link in the video description below on how to get a great deal on a Windows 10 Pro product key. I have used that on half a dozen computers. They all work fine. I highly recommend it. At this point, the license agreement comes up. Our only choice is to accept it. You can't install otherwise, and we'll hit Next. This is the next screen that comes up. What type of installation, upgrade, or custom? Now, if you have a previous version of Windows, Windows 7 or Windows 8, you might choose upgrade to keep your current files and settings. Now, this is a fresh build, so the only thing we're going to choose is custom. And if you have a clean hard drive, you definitely want to choose that. You can see here the 240 gigabyte solid state drive that was included in this machine. If you watch part 3, the build video, or part 1, the parts overviews, you saw that we use that. Now, if you chose to build this with a hard drive, the size will be larger, but the process of installing Windows onto a hard drive or solid state drive is exactly the same. This process does not care. It's only a size issue, not a drive type issue. You don't have to worry about creating partitions. Just hit next and Windows will do everything for you. At this point, it says copying Windows. Now, this is going to take 5 minutes to 15 minutes, depending upon the speed of your computer, the speed of your USB thumb drive, whether it's plugged into a USB 2 or USB 3 port. I'm going to trim this here, and we'll be back in just a second. Please note that when it gets finished here, it's going to reboot the machine. When it actually reboots the computer, you will want to physically remove the USB thumb drive from the machine. You will not need it again for the rest of the installation. After Windows is done copying all the installation files from your USB thumb drive, it's going to reboot, and then this is the very first screen you will see when your computer is finished restarting. Please remember to remove your USB thumb drive during the reboot so the computer doesn't relaunch the USB thumb drive installation process. You have two options down here on the bottom, Customize and Use Express Settings. Short version. Customize allows you to go through and manually turn on and off most, but not all, of the telemetry and data options that communicate with Microsoft. Please note, there are benefits to some of these. It's not all to benefit Microsoft. Some is, definitely, for sure, but some of it improves your overall security. Some of it improves your security by helping you find your device. And some of it just helps Microsoft make money. If you want to go through them one by one, it's pretty self-explanatory. I've gone through it in detail in other videos. I won't do it here because it takes about 15 minutes to actually explain every item in detail. So I'm going to choose Use Express Settings. For what it's worth, I personally use Express Settings on my own machines. I am fully aware that it sends a huge amount of information about what I'm doing on my computers to Microsoft. Welcome to the 21st century. That's what devices do. Now, who owns this PC? This will only come up if you are running Windows 10 Professional. Home will not see this. What it's wanting to know is, are you part of a domain or not? If you don't know if you are, you're not. You would know if you are. So you're going to choose I own it, and we'll set it up with a Microsoft account. At this point, Microsoft now wants you to sign in with a Microsoft account. Now, this can be any email address, any phone number, or your Skype name. It does not have to be a Microsoft email address. There are many, many benefits to a Microsoft account. Please note, if you want to skip this and use a local account, there is a skip this step icon in the bottom of the screen. That creates a local account, the same kind that's been around since the Windows 3 and Windows 95 and Windows 98 days, and so on. Now, one of the benefits to the Microsoft account is it allows you to easily synchronize your settings between various Windows 10 devices. If you have a laptop, a desktop, multiple machines, it lets you keep your personalized experience across computers. It also lets you use parental controls, which is very helpful if you have children because you can set up child accounts that you control as an adult. Highly recommended if you have kids. And most notably, it lets you tie your Windows 10 license to your Microsoft account rather than to the machine. I have been able to move my Windows 10 licenses from one machine to another by doing a fresh install of Windows 10, and it's not activated, but when I get into Windows and choose Activate, there's a button that says, I've changed my hardware recently, and it gives you a list of all of the activated computers, and you can pick one to move your Windows license. Very handy to have. Now, if you want to skip it, I understand, but there's many, many benefits. Microsoft accounts are required for Cortana, which is Microsoft's version of Siri. It's required for OneDrive and many other features. So I'm going to sign into my account now. And now that I've typed in my username and password, it says, please wait, it's synchronizing everything. Use Windows Hello instead of your password. This is a 4-digit PIN. It is more secure than a long password because it's stored locally in a salted hash rather than transmitted online. And it's also unique to the device. Knowing your PIN or password on this device does not affect other devices, which can come in handy depending upon what you're doing. Short version, use a Windows PIN. And we'll just set it up here. So once I've selected that, the next screen we'll see is get your files here, there, and everywhere. Yes, Sam, I am. Save new files only to this PC by default is the backup option down here. Now this is OneDrive, Microsoft's cloud-based storage. I use OneDrive, it's wonderful, it works very, very well. My phone auto-uploads the pictures I take to it, it synchronizes across devices. It's entirely up to you as to whether you want to. Now this is a test machine, so I'm going to choose save new files only to this PC by default, but all my other computers I would choose next. Meet Cortana. Cortana is your sidekick, ready to help with anything that helps your super heroic or just on time. This is Microsoft's version of Siri. If you have a microphone on your computer, she will respond to, "Hey Cortana," and then you can ask her anything you would ask Siri. Meet Cortana, your personal assistant and sidekick. This is basically Microsoft's version of Siri, the personal digital assistant. You can either use typing or speech if you have a microphone connected to your computer for all the things you'd use Siri for. Add things to your calendar, set reminders, do web searches, that sort of thing. Use it, don't use it. It's one of those things you can turn on or off depending upon which you prefer. I am going to turn it on. Hi, we're happy you're here. Windows 10 is much easier to install than previous version of Windows. You put it on a USB thumb drive, you stick it in, it automatically connects to the internet, it downloads the drivers. Speaking of that, if you saw the green ugly text at the beginning of this and you noticed that it changed to nice blue while we were on Cortana, that is because in the background, Windows was already running updates. It was downloading a basic driver for our AMD graphics card that's included in this computer. Now, please note we are going to download more advanced drivers from AMD because we want all of the features for our card, but Windows will put a basic driver on there. Part of the reason I do these videos is because a lot of people would just install Windows and forget to, or simply not know, to go download the latest drivers from AMD. Your games will perform better, your programs will run better. You definitely want to be on the latest drivers. In addition to having better drivers, you also get Relive, which is the streaming and recording program from AMD that's very, very similar to NVIDIA's Shadowplay. I've used it, it works very, very well. Let's start. Look, I don't even have to cut any of this out. Solid state drives for the win. We are now into Windows. So first things first, log into your email and your online banking and start typing in passwords, right? No, that's the whole point of this video, is to talk about what to do with a new computer. Now, please note, what you're about to see is very similar whether you bought a computer with Windows already on it or whether you're installing it yourself. All versions of Windows, when you freshly install them, are out of date. We're going to come down here to the Start button, and we're going to click Settings, Update and Security, and check for updates. Now, it said there were no updates available, but that's only because it had never been run before. There will be, don't worry, just give it, there we go, look at this. Definition updates for Windows Defender, Windows Malicious Software Removal Tool, security updates, a cumulative update for Windows 10. In that cumulative update are perhaps dozens, if not hundreds, of updates that have been packaged into an easier to download installer from Microsoft. Back in the bad old days of Windows XP and before, Microsoft did not take security seriously. They do today. You could say that they have had their come to Jesus moment. They've found religion when it comes to internet security. There are a lot of bad actors in the world who want to compromise computers, and since Windows is installed on approximately 95% of the personal computers in the world, maybe a little less, closer to 90, but it's over 90%, it is the #1 target for hackers and bad actors who want to steal your stuff and compromise your system. Keeping Windows up to date is one of the most important things that you can do to protect your system because holes and flaws are constantly being found. Windows has over 100 million lines of computer code. There is no way that's ever going to be bug-free. So all they can do is have a full-time patch security team that works 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year to keep up with the updates. It used to be Windows had something called Patch Tuesdays. They used to just patch Windows once a month, and even that was revolutionary because they didn't used to do it at all. But now it's updated as often as every day. You will often get small patches to fix critical errors on a regular basis. Many of these do not even require a reboot and will happen in the background. Larger ones will require a reboot and the system will reboot when you're not using it. The second line of defense is antivirus. Now, Windows 10 comes with excellent antivirus. In fact, if you look over here, you'll see Windows Defender just below Windows Update. We'll look at that in a minute after the reboot. Now, I'm going to trim this video here, and we'll come back when this is finished. Once the download and install process is complete, this is the screen you'll see. At this point, you'll need to click Restart. The system will go through a reboot process that will take a few minutes, maybe 5 or 10 minutes at most, and then your computer will be back to the Windows desktop. And here we are back into Windows. Now that just took a couple of minutes to reboot and install the updates. Again, thank you solid state drive. It makes all the difference in the world. Now the next thing we're going to do is come down to the Start menu and we're going to type in Windows Defender. There's Windows Defender and we're going to click on it. What's new in Windows Defender? Your free antivirus recommended by Microsoft. You want to turn the protection updates on to make sure that you have all the latest updates, and this has automatic sample submission. Now, people who work with highly classified information or who work with secret stuff you wouldn't want Microsoft to know about, I suppose, shouldn't turn this on. Everyone else should. So we'll hit turn on and we'll close that window. Real-time protection is on. Virus and spyware definitions are up to date. This will keep itself up to date. We'll click on update and I want to show you something. I'm filming this March 5th at 8 p.m. The definitions were last updated 11 minutes ago. The definitions were last created 8 hours ago, actually just under 8 hours ago at 12:19. These definitions are often updated 2 or 3 times a day. This will automatically run in the background and keep itself up to date. In the olden days, antivirus would often update once a month or maybe once a week for the better products. They have a 24/7, 365 team working all year long, even on Christmas, to make sure that the antivirus definitions are always up to date with the current threats that are out in the environment. You can absolutely go out and buy McAfee or Norton or some other antivirus tool, and it will disable Windows Defender and run just fine. Why? When free antivirus is included directly from Microsoft and they keep it updated sometimes by the hour, not just by the day. The next thing we need to do is download our AMD graphics drivers for our RX 470 graphics card. We are going to open up Microsoft Edge. We are going to type AMD drivers into our search engine and we're going to choose AMD driver auto detect. Now you can manually select them and download them if you want. There's no need to. Let the tool do its job. We'll click save and that was quick. We'll click run. Do you want to allow this app to make changes to your device? Yes, we downloaded it, we ran it. You can now close Microsoft Edge and just hit install. Now this program is essentially a little mini downloader that detects your hardware and will download the full set of drivers. This way you don't have to worry about picking the right edition of Windows or the right graphics card. It will do it for you. You have the choice of express install or custom install. You can absolutely do a custom install if you want, but we're going to choose express. The vast majority of you should choose express. This is going to take a few minutes because it has to download the full set of drivers and then install them. Once the graphics drivers are installed, this is the screen you'll see next. You have the option to skip, learn more about, or install the Relive software. Relive, as I said before, is the streaming and recording software that AMD now provides. This came out in the fall of 2016, and it is excellent, excellent software. If you have any interest at all in recording your gameplay or live streaming your gameplay using the power of your graphics card, install this software. So we're going to click install, and your graphics card is now ready. I'm going to choose the keep my system up to date, so it'll make sure that my graphics drivers are up to date. It'll pop up a notification when there's a new version. We do have to restart the system to finish installing the software, and we'll be right back to the Windows desktop in just a minute. At this point, your computer is secure and up to date and ready to use. Many people may ask the question, are there any other drivers I need to download? What about for the motherboard or processor? Windows takes care of all that. You can, but generally when it comes to motherboard drivers, network drivers, sound drivers, Windows is really good about using good enough versions of those. It's the graphics drivers that are the most important thing that you update. I am going to show you one more thing here in just a second, but first I want to say, like this video if you like it, share it with your friends if you loved it, remember to subscribe to my channel with the big huge red button directly below this video, questions and comments in the comment section. check out the video links in the video description, a link to the full playlist of videos on this computer, a link to Amazon and Newegg for all the parts I used in this computer will all be in the video description below. I bought everything in this computer from both Amazon and Newegg. I recommend both places tremendously. They offer great customer service and great prices. Shop around between the two places and buy it where it makes the most sense for you. Now, the next thing I'm going to show you here is completely optional. However, I'm going to go to Start, Settings, System, Apps and Features. And the reason is Windows auto-installs things that I don't want on the computer. We don't have a ton of solid-state drive space, so I want to get rid of the extra stuff that I'm not personally going to use. 3D Builder is included with every copy of Windows 10. It's not large, but I don't use it, and if you don't use it, you can safely remove it to free up some space. Leave these, come down here to Facebook. Do you use Facebook? That's a third of a gigabyte right there. That's wasting our space. Now, I do use Facebook personally, but I go to the website. I don't use their app. Feedback Hub, that's for people who are on the inside track, and that can be safely removed. Get Office. This is a nag screen saying, hey, subscribe to Microsoft Office and give me money. Yeah, I don't need that. Go away. Get Started. Now, if you're new to Windows 10, go ahead and run this once. It might teach you something about Windows 10. It's for people new to Windows 10. If you already know Windows 10, you can safely remove it and get it out of your space. Groove Music, they won't let us remove. This I'm going to remove. Another thing wasting our space that Windows sticks there. Don't put shovelware on my computer, Windows. We're going to scroll down a bit more. OneDrive we use. Solitaire Collection is removable, but actually it doesn't take up space until you launch it. I leave it. Coming down, News, I don't use their app. It's a Windows Store app for news. It's not large, but it's clutter as far as I'm concerned. Paid Wi-Fi and cellular, I don't use that. The total amount of space these take up is fairly minor overall, but I don't like excess stuff on my computer that I'm not using. Skype Preview, take that off. Twitter. I use Twitter. Follow me using the link to Twitter in the video description below. It's at the very, very bottom. I should probably put it at the top someday. But I don't use the app. I just use the web page. I just go to twitter.com. So we'll get rid of that. Leave the Vulkan runtime libraries. That has to do with your graphics drivers, and everything else has to stay. I'm only showing you this to show you that there is stuff to remove that will free up at least a small, modest amount of space. Again, thank you so much for watching, and I will see all of you in the next video.